Hey, nice to have you with us once again on Mansfield today, and being a Tuesday, we take a look at things legal, our resident legal eagle. Advocate Lance Brogden, you're looking very sharp and...
Afternoon, Jim. Hey, my darling.
Don't do that. People will start talking.
They already are.
Lance, we've had a lot of questions in from people about your rights when defending yourself, defending others, defending property. We've got a lot. I'm not going to go through the questions as such that we've got in, because some of them are very sort of personally based questions. But is there a material difference between, say, defending property and an individual?
Right. This is the trickiest question you've asked me. And I'll tell you why. Because in terms of the Constitution, it clearly says you have a right to defend yourself, others, your family, your property, fixed or mobile. You have a right to. It's not unlawful to defend it and react in the right way. But in practice, they're very, very different. And I think it's going to come out some of the questions. I haven't seen them all that you've been asked, but it's going to come out that there is a difference between defending a life or a life at risk and defending an asset. But I think this is very important, Jim, if I want to bring something up, especially for you boots on the East Rand, you Chinese.
And he comes from the East Rand originally, so he can't trash you.
Yeah, that's Anthony Maphilius, and then Greg Dorban, you Chinas from the South, and very much you ninjas from Kailami Estates. Guys, we haven't forgotten all that. I think you guys should really apply your minds here.
What is the primary principle then in defending yourself and others?
Right, so the primary principle is that you should use just enough force to rebut and defend the action that is happening. Here's where the challenge comes in. The Constitution doesn't say what it is. It's not unlawful. But in the Criminal Act, etc., you may not go further than what is required to execute the act. It's about as simple as that. And that's, once again, where this mismatch comes in, what makes it confusing in law. It is not clear, okay? It is just not clear. And then when we get to defending property, that's a very, very, very difficult one.
But why is there this confusion that exists about how far you can go to defend?
Well, it's not only here. Guys, listen to me. This is around the world. Constitutions, allow you to defend your stuff and other people's stuff personally, emotionally. You're allowed to do it. But the Criminal Act starts getting very specific about how far you go in doing that. And the bottom line is, guys, you can't use more force and more aggression that's required to rebuff or to fight the situation on the table. That is the real bottom line. You can't exceed it. For example, if somebody, you arrive home, you see somebody driving off in your motor vehicle, rushing away, so you can't take out your weapon and start firing rounds. That's way beyond protecting, defending, etc. Really out of bounds. And if you do hit the guy on the side of the pip, I can tell you now, you'll be up not for manslaughter, you'll be up for murder.
Okay, well then let's take one of these questions that's actually come through here, because you've alluded to it now. When can I fire my weapon in defense? Under what circumstances?
Right, so let's summarize it. One, the attack has to be either underway or imminent. It's real, it's in front of you, it's close, okay? It has to be an unlawful attack. For example, if you're being arrested by a policeman, that's not unlawful. You can't turn around and then take that and rebut. Together with that, and very importantly, the attack that is taking place at the time, okay, you would have to be able to say, I had to use a weapon. We talk about firing a gun, but it could be a panga, a knife, or whatever you want to use, because without that, you're going to feel I'm totally compromised or the people around me are compromised. But equally importantly, the defense must be necessary to avert the attack. That's about it. It must be necessary to avert the attack. Even going back to the Constitution that says the right to defend assets, other people, etc. And by the way, there's no difference between defending yourself, your family, or another person. They are all the same.
Does this what you spoke about it a few weeks ago, man? This reasonable man.
Oh, no, that bugger
thing.
arrives again, yeah.
Yeah. Does that come into it again?
Very much so. So let us say when we get to court. So there was a home invasion, stuff happens, and you take the necessary action you believe at the time. The court does go back to, sadly, our friend the reasonable man.
Okay.
Right, and that we've been through once or twice. It's very difficult. But what the court will say is, what would the reasonable man in those circumstances have done? Now, later I'll give you my opinion on it is not the same as the legal opinion, because nobody knows what happens at that very second, split second, that moment in time. But the courts have quite a broad thinking on it. Other actions of the reasonable man is it's a cultural thing, it's what happened in the environment you brought up in, etc. This is a different reasonable man, in my opinion, because this is, no matter who you are, imminent or happening attack, assault on you, your family, your friends. How would the court regard a reasonable man having behaved under those circumstances? So yes, the reasonable man test carries on here once again. We thought we'd escaped that bugger, but we haven't.
No.
He still comes back all the time.
Okay, but then Lance, let me put it to you this way. What if I'm just plain scared? You wake up in the middle of the night and there is somebody in your home. You can hear that.
Yeah.
And I'm scared. What?
Well, Jimmy, if you're not scared, you are talking nonsense, because anybody who tells you they're not scared, but that comes into the reasonable man test as well. But the bottom line is, saying I'm scared does not give you the right to take harsh and radical action. Unfortunately, that is not an excuse or saying I'm scared. My personal opinion, it's a pretty good reason. And I tell you, anybody, once again, says, don't be, guys, stand up. If you're not scared, you're stupid.
But then it comes back to what you said at the beginning of this conversation about only being able to use the amount of force to rebut the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one that's come up. What if the intruder has a weapon?
Okay, now this one is extremely difficult, because in my mind, the intruder has a weapon. I'm going to take the harshest and quickest action. But the criminal act and the courts say, no, you have to say that you physically saw the weapon, and that you have to show that the person had intent to harm you or do damage to you or your family. I personally have a problem with that. In principle, if you're coming into my home or my business or right here into our studio now, you're carrying a weapon, anybody who thinks that that's just a show to scare you is nonsense. We all know. Many of you have been through the military, the police. You don't draw a weapon unless you want to use it. And that we've all been taught that. So in our minds, when you see that, but the courts say you have to follow a certain process. Jim, it's very confusing. So you've got to be careful, but you have to balance that, unfortunately.
Okay. We're running out of time. Take off your legal hat. Well, you're not wearing a hat. Take off your legal wig.
My toupee.
Your toupee. Don't be an advocate now.
Yeah.
We're sitting at a pub. We're having a chat now, okay?
Been a long time since we've done that.
Tell me about
Yeah,
it.
at least a couple of days.
How should you handle this?
Right, gloves off, guys. Right. So the end of the day is, I'm not speaking to advise you or counsel you. I'm not being paid to say this. But the lives around you, including your own, are only there once. You do whatever you think you have to do at that moment in time. If you have time to think about the reasonable man and what if and is there really, if you have time to think about that, you're not in trouble. If you have time, you are just absolutely cool and you're making big maracas. So don't be a Papa Uniform Sierra Yankee. Just get on with it, okay? Because at the end of the day, people around you are valuable, and you, if you're the principal, you have a duty to look after them. That's my opinion. Secondly, is assets aren't that valuable, okay? This is the other balance. Gloves off as well. If somebody is stealing your TV, Please don't get involved in a fracas, okay? Because in the days, you never know, you might just get shot, etc., etc. So be reasonable about that. But lives, integrity, your family, children, your friends, guys, you do what you have to do.
Okay, you don't get it much more straightforward than that. Thank you very much, Advocate.
Thank you, Jim. Always great being with you. And thanks for all the following. Guys, we're getting such good... Please keep the questions coming. Initially, when we started, we created some topics. You creating the topics. Please do. Thank you.
And we'll catch you once again next Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Advocate Lance Brogden, our resident legal eagle, right here on Mansfield Today. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the show, then please press the subscribe button. Until next time, cherry bye.